What's up, y'all? Back here with another video. Talk about my favorite week of the season, or 2 weeks really, is Champ Week. So we start getting into our conference tournaments this week. I'm recording this on Tuesday. I know I missed the Monday. We had the first playing game with Cleveland State taking down IU Indy in the Horizon League. Should be an interesting league. I'll touch upon it more here. But we get 2 straight weeks of just going to be awesome basketball. This year has been great at the mid-major level, at the power level. It's just been a really fun year for college basketball in a time where it seemed pretty top-heavy. It might be a little top-heavy again with some of the better teams, especially Michigan, Arizona, and Duke. But I think we're in store for a good 2 weeks, and then leading up to Selection Sunday, hopefully the committee can get it right. Even though they most likely never do, there's always going to be, some people complaining, just a bit. So as we get in, we'll start off with the Horizon League. Just going to talk about really kind of what teams I think or what team I think I'm gonna win, who might be a dark horse, and kind of go from there. So looking at the Horizon League, we get, as I already said, Cleveland State beat IU Indy, so they'll play Wright State on Wednesday. On Tuesday, we actually have Green Bay versus Purdue Fort Wayne. That game I think got moved from Wednesday to Tuesday, so kind of interesting there. Meanwhile, the other 4 games will be played on Wednesday. It's kind of an interesting bracket, as you can see here. So the top 3 seeds that win basically get a bye to the semifinals, and the 2 worst seeds, let's say, 6 seed Milwaukee and, 4 seed Oakland, and the other top 3, or the other, I guess it'd be 6 seed Milwaukee, and then 5 seed Green Bay, and then every other top seed wins. Those 2 would play each other. So that's kind of how it goes there. So Oakland and Green Bay hoping for an upset so they can get a bye to the semis. But regardless of that, that's kind of how that bracket will work. Very interesting. But my pick to win the Horizon League will be Robert Morris. They swept Wright State this year. They've been playing pretty good as of late. And in this kind of a bracket, I trust their coach, Andy Toole. He's been at Robert Morris forever, and I think he's really just a great coach there. Of course, here to win doesn't really seem like a dark horse because they're the 3 seed, but if you look at the betting odds, they're plus 1,000 here. These are subject to change. I took this screen grab yesterday before, the Cleveland State and IU Indy game, but Detroit Mercy at plus 1,000 I think is a good grab. They've been playing really good ball as of late, and they've really played the top teams like Wright State and Robert Morris, as well as Oakland, really well in this conference. I also wouldn't really pick Oakland. They've kind of shit down their leg as the seasons come along, so I don't see great value on them there either. So really Detroit Mercy, maybe Green Bay as well, but those are my 2 picks there. And then looking at the Sun Belt, I talked about it a couple times. You might probably see me talk about it if you follow me. I don't really like the format of this league for the way that everything kind of turned out. I didn't think it was very good. So, because he had a 6-way tie for second place, which means Arkansas State has to win 3 more games than Marshall, who finished with the same record. As you can see, Arkansas State is there at the 7, Marshall's there at the 2. But with a lot of, especially when I'm kind of betting these conference tournaments, I like to kind of try to pick one side of the bracket unless there's clear 2 teams. But besides that, try to stay to one side of the bracket so you kind of get one of those teams at least into the championship. So my pick to win is Marshall at plus 270. I think there's good value there. They got 3 dudes averaging 15 plus points per game. They got the best offense in the Sun Belt, according to Ken Palm. They have their bye all the way to the semifinals, so they only have to win 2 games to win the conference, unlike some of the other teams here. While, as I'll say, in my dark horse is Arkansas State. They have to win 5 games in 5 days. As you can see, that's a little bit harder for 2 teams that finish with the same schedule to win 2 games versus 5 games. 2 games in 2 days versus 5 games in 5 days. But Arkansas State is probably one of the best team, maybe besides Troy, just talent-wise in the Sun Belt. Top to bottom, they're probably the best roster. They have been really struggled from 3, but if they can get hot from 3 over the or is it Pensacola? In Pensacola, I think they have a good chance at being able to do something that hasn't been done in a long, or isn't done fairly often. But if they get hot from 30, they could be in trouble. They're also the second highest team in the net, so they are a very good team. They're right behind Troy in the net as well. So good value there as well, with Ark State being plus 1,000. And then moving on, we get the Patriot League. Patriot League's a little top heavy. I took this post a while ago when Navy was minus 120. I think they're now like minus 170, minus 210 on FanDuel. This is from DraftKings, so kind of get wherever the number you think is better for some of these games. I think that's the biggest thing. But so Navy has the best defense in the Patriot, and it's really not close. They've kind of dominated the Patriot League. They've also won 24 of their last 25 games. Probably one of the hottest teams in the country. They've just been playing so well. They move the ball really well. They share the ball really well. They're very balanced scoring attack coming from the midshipmen there. And then my dark horse, as I said before, I kind of like to stay on that one side of the bracket, will be Boston. They're plus 850, are the best three-point shooting team in the Patriot League. They have the best offensive metrics according to KenPom as well. They are really good on offense. As long as they can defend a little bit, I think they'll be able to win. They got to get through American here. They lost to recently, so they can, if they hot, they're going to be a tough out just because of how well they can score the basketball. They shoot 39.5% from three as a team, so they shoot the ball really well. And their guard McNair is also just an absolute beast. And then moving on to the A-Sun. The A-Sun's also pretty interesting here. As you can see, Central Arkansas is the one, but Austin Peay is actually the favorite, who is my pick in this conference. Last year was in Nashville, Tennessee, where Lipscomb won it all. This year it's going to be in Jacksonville, Florida. So a little bit of a geological difference, especially for the travel for fans to see these games, because the A-Sun games actually do tend to get pretty packed out, which is always cool to see for these mid-majors. But Austin Peay is my pick in this to win the A-Sun. They lost their one game to Central Arkansas, but I don't think that Central Arkansas is going to get to the championship. I think Lipscomb is going to take them out there. But they have the best front court in the league, Austin Peay. They have the easier side of the bracket as well, being able to play Queens instead of Lipscomb or Central Arkansas. So that kind of works out in their favor as well. Just an easier path to get to the championship for them. And then my dark horse, I kind of said it before, or alluded to it before, is Lipscomb. They have had prior year success in this tournament. They won it last year. They go deep usually in this tournament. I think they're just going to be a hard out. They're very balanced. They move the ball really well on offense. It's not like one single guy's going to beat you. They play pretty good team basketball. And they're probably one of the better defensive teams as well in the Sun, or in the A-Sun. So they can really get after you defensively. So that's my dark horse. I like them at plus 475 there as well. Moving on to the Big South, it's really more of a two-headed race, in my opinion. The top two seeds are kind of the top two teams here. So High Point, their only loss came to Winthrop. They split the series with them. They're easily the best offense in this tournament, or in this conference. They score the ball pretty much at will against all these teams they've played this year. So it's kind of my reasoning. There's not a team that can really hang with them offensively, and they'll be easily get to the championship, where it will most likely be a round 3 matchup with Winthrop for a chance at the big dance on the line. My dark horse is Winthrop. Not really a dark horse, but it's really just a two-headed race, in my opinion, in this league. Those two teams at the top are really just far and away the two best teams in the Big South. They, as I said before, Winthrop split with High Point, and the one game they kind of dominated them, and the other one they only lost by 2 points. So kind of was a close game there. So my two picks will be High Point and Winthrop in the Big South. Nothing really too exciting there. But I think a Winthrop High Point round 3 game will be awesome on a Sunday afternoon. It's going to be some great basketball to watch in the Big South. And then moving on to the Ohio Valley. I actually really like this conference. Tennessee State's been really fun to watch this year. I really liked SEMO and UT Martin. It's also been pretty fun, especially early on in the season. They were fun to watch in the non-con. But my pick to win will be Tennessee State. They're at plus 220. They got the best offensive rating in the OVC. They have the best backcourt with 2 guys averaging 17 plus points per game there. They'll likely play UT Martin in the semifinals, so that will probably be one of the harder games. I just think UT Martin is probably the second best team in this conference. As you can see from the odds here, they're the second favorites. But I do like SEMO Southeast Missouri State as my dark horse. They have the easier side of the bracket in playing Morehead State. They're a pretty balanced team scoring-wise. Not going to beat you, with just one dude. They got multiple guys that can put the ball in the hoop, and they play really well defensively in getting after you. Probably one of the better, if not the best, defensive team in the OVC. So Tennessee State is my pick to win, and my dark horse there is SEMO at plus 400. And then we get the Summit, which I actually had the privilege of going to St. Thomas's home opener this year in their new stadium, which was actually pretty fucking awesome. It was really cool. They kind of shit on Army in that game, but regardless, it was a really cool game to go to. Tommy's in this division will be my pick to win it. A little bit of a bias, but it's also their first year being eligible to go to the NCAA tournament. So I think there's that little extra push behind them to be able to get there. They're the highest rated team on KenPom and in the net. And then Nolan Misolsis is also one of, if not the best players in the league. He's been really dominant for St. Thomas, even though they do have a bunch of dudes that can, get after you scoring wise. He's just been really dominant for them. And then my dark horse here is going to be Denver on this side. They're here at plus 1,200. They've dropped a lot of close games, and I think if they can, figure out how to really close out games, I think they have a good shot here. They have really good offense. Their defense is pretty terrible, almost non-existent. But Carson Johnson is fantastic, and if they can knock off the Tommies and then get to the championship game and knock off someone else there, I think it's all going to be because of Carson Johnson, who's been playing absolutely phenomenal for them. So my pick here is St. Thomas, with Denver being my dark horse. And then we move on to the Northeast Conference, the NEC. Did not have anything on DraftKings, so I pulled this one from FanDuel. But this is, there's 9 teams in this conference, so only the top 8 made it. As you can see here, this gets started tomorrow night, and my pick here is going to be LIU. Nothing too crazy, but I've been betting on them all season. They've been a really fun watch. They're balanced scoring wise, a bunch of dudes, as I continue to say, for these teams that can put the ball in the basket. They definitely have the most talent here as well. And it also just helps out that since they're the 1 seed, them winning, they get to play the lowest remaining seed, just makes it their path a bit easier getting into the semifinals, as they will not have to play Mercyhurst, who swept them this year. As I say that, Mercyhurst is my dark horse. They split with LIU, but they also split with Central Connecticut, a state there who has been really good in the non-con, beating Rutgers, actually, and then beating another power team. They actually played really, really, really well in the non-con, and then kind of fell apart a little bit in the NEC, just a little bit. Dropped a late game to Chicago State by like 20, which made absolutely no sense, but regardless of that, Mercyhurst is my dark horse here. And then in both those games that they won both convincingly, and then both those games that they lost to Central Connecticut and LIU, they lost by 2 points in each of those games. So they played the top 2 teams really tough as well. They just have some puzzling losses that just don't make sense either. So if you get the best of Mercyhurst, they definitely are a real threat to win the NEC here. And at plus 650, those are good odds for them to win. So LIU and Mercyhurst are my two picks here. Then we move on to the Missouri Valley. Arch Madness. Every year is a great tournament, and I think this year especially will be great. You got a lot of really good teams in here. And it's pretty funny that Northern Iowa is the second favorite, even though they're the 6th seed. I would have probably picked them as my dark horse. For seeding wise, they're kind of the dark horse. They're finally fully healthy, and they've been playing really, really good down the stretch. But them being second, I didn't really like that as a dark horse pick. I didn't want to do a lot of these 1-2s because I'm going to pick Belmont to win. I just think when healthy, they're easily the best team in the Missouri Valley. They have so much talent on that team, and they're just so good offensively. They run really good sets there in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. But not only that, but they're just so balanced with how good they are scoring too. There's so many guys that score, 9, 10 plus a game. So they do really well there. And with my dark horse sticking to that, kind of staying on the one side of the bracket, I'm going to pick Murray State here at plus 1,000. They have probably one of the better athletes in the conference. They just can't play defense at all. Their defense in the month of February was just absolutely atrocious. So that's the one thing that kind of worries you here. But they can really compete with anyone. They athletes all over. They can score from all over. It's just if they can fix some things defensively, they can have a real shot at being able to win Arch Madness here. So my two picks here are Belmont to win and my dark horse being Murray State. Moving on to the West Coast, we get very similar to the Sun Belt in this just bye, all the way to the semifinals for your top 2 seeds. So the Zags last season in the West Coast Conference, I think that really makes them the favorites here to win. No, it's not too enticing at minus 210, but they just got to win 2 games and they'll be the West Coast Conference champs. And I think they really want to go out with a bang here after losing to St. Mary's on the road to end the season to split the regular season. I think they want to win that West Coast Conference title for their last season as well. And then for my dark horse from this conference will end up being Santa Clara. They're plus 650 here to win. They got to win 3 games, one of those being against St. Mary's, who they split with during the regular season. But they will go as far as Christian Hammond takes them. He's been phenomenal for Santa Clara. If he can get hot again, he struggled the last 2 games, especially in that game against St. Mary's. But if he can get hot, they can beat St. Mary's. And when they did, he had 25 points in that game. And then if he gets hot again, just keep it going. Just keep it going, rolling right into the Zags, into the championship. And I think if Santa Clara can win it, it's going to be Christian Hammond that helps them really to win it. So my dark horse here is St. Mary's, and my pick to win is Gonzaga. And then here we go. We got 2 more left here. We got the MAC, the Metro Atlantic Conference. Looking at it, we got Merrimack here winning the regular season. They are the favorite to win. Siena as the 3 seed is the second favorite, but my pick will be Merrimack. This is one of the more volatile conferences here. As you can see, the favorites plus 310. So there's kind of a lot of love going all around here, but Merrimack's the best team on KenPom. They've been phenomenal. They have a great guard trio that all averages, 13, 14 plus points per game between Kennedy, Shelton, and Dorsett. They've been really fun to watch this year, so that this should be interesting there down in Atlantic City to see how far Merrimack can go. And see if they can actually punch their ticket to the dance. First time in a while they'd be able to do that. And then my dark horse here is Marist. I like them at plus 475 as well, staying on that side of the bracket as well. Marist is the second best team on KenPom actually, and they're the best defensive team in the MAC here. They really grind you out kind of games, is what Marist forces you into. And I think those are not games that a lot of teams in this conference are accustomed to, so the way they play could spell trouble for a couple of these teams. So I think they're a good dark horse pick. As long as they don't struggle to shoot from three, they shoot like around 30% from three. So if they can just, hit a couple threes, I think that can go a long way for them to be able to win this MAC championship here. So my pick is Merrimack to win, with my dark horse being Marist. And then last here, we get the SoCon. We got East Tennessee State as the number 1 seed, also the favorite here, kind of the clear favorite. Also, once again, my pick to win. They've just been so consistent here in the SoCon. They got 3 players averaging 14 plus points per game. They really have a balanced scoring attack from those 3. They struggled at the end of February, which could cause for a little bit of concern, especially against some of the top teams in the SoCon. So could smell some trouble here. As you can see, there's a rest here as well. Furman plus 425 is the second favorite, and they're actually the 6th seed, which is kind of interesting to see. Mercer at 475 is also the 4. And then Wofford, who's the 2, is at 800. So kind of interesting to see there. But I like, for my dark horse, as to be Sanford. Sanford has been pretty solid down the stretch here, and they have 2 really good players in the guard and big duo of Booth, who's averaging 21 plus points per game, and Dylan Faulkner, who is averaging 17 points per game with 8 rebounds. Probably the best duo in this league, and I think those 2 can really carry them to make a little bit of a run here in the SoCon and make that championship game, and most likely be playing East Tennessee State. And if they could just continue to ride those 2 towards the championship, I think they'll have a good shot at beating East Tennessee State as well. So it's really just going to be how far those 2 can take them. They just have to get by Furman, who swept them this year. So beating Furman, I think if they beat Furman, they'll have a really good shot at winning it all. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the conferences that are starting this week. We still have the CAA left. Big Sky is another one, and SWAC. So there's going to be a couple more. We'll see if I do a video for those. I think there's 4. Also the American East. So there's going to be 4 still left. See if I do a video for those, but I'll make sure to continue kind of posting, see what games there are. But we're in for a good 2 weeks, so buckle down. We got 2 great weeks of college basketball, and then leading us straight to Selection Sunday, and then you let the March Madness begin, even though it really has already begun. IUND Cleveland State got us kicked off last night. We got 5 more games tonight, both as I'm recording this, some of them have already started, so we got a great next couple weeks of hoops. I hope y'all join me there. I'll see y'all. Peace.